Hello everybody, how's it going? With the release of Supreme Miller 1936 recently, I decided I would review all of the Supreme Miller games that I happen to own, which I own all of them technically, but I'm not going to do a review of 2010 because I don't really think that's a fair review because it was technically their first release game. It has kind of poor scores, and quite honestly, I don't know how to play it. So I'm going to start off with 2020, do Cold War, and then do 1936. While this will be mostly in-game footage, and it'll be a fairly fast review as I'm just going to kind of touch on stuff and some of the more important issues with things, I do want to point out that these are all good games, and in no way am I trying to slander them. I love every single one of them, but I like Supreme Ruler 2020 the best. And I'm going to explain why here in the next 5 to 10 minutes. The first thing of, well, multiple things to be quite honest with you, is the hub system, or the UI, whatever you want to call it, the magical charts down below, and small one up above. Supreme Ruler 2020 has some of the best in the series, to be honest, for a hub system down below here. Everything is quite organized, it's small, it doesn't take up a lot of your screen, which is good, because if I'm having a large-scale war, I want to see said large-scale war, and all of its glory. And mosting over things, it gives you, for example, as I'm mosting over right now, operations, as well as like state and finance and stuff like that. It's all very easy, very combined in a good space, and where you expect things to be is where you expect things to be. For example, if I wanted to go over this and I wanted to say, look at taxes, I would immediately go to my taxes, and I can raise it and lower it and raise it and lower it and just screw my economy completely up with nothing more than just a click. And it's just easy to find everything. Everything you expect to be in its specific spot is in its a specific spot. If it has to do with land, it's in the land tab. It has to do with production and building things, it's in this tab. In fact, I'm pretty sure you could even sort of build stuff from this tab. For example, if you're looking at agriculture, you can click on that, and it automatically starts building agriculture. You just have to click. The UI system is flawless, in my opinion, though if you are starting out, it is kind of complicated, and I recommend either watching a tutorial on YouTube, such as my own, or doing the tutorial beforehand if you have about a good few hours to spare. The tutorial in this game is a little bit lackluster, and it is very drag-on-y, I guess you could say, and it does go on for a good few hours. I recommend looking up a YouTube tutorial, but overall, again, the UI system, really easy to find everything you need, very easy to use, and that's really all I have to say, is it's just good. Controls! Controls are simple as well, and this is going to be a really fast review if this is the way it keeps going. Controls are really, really simple. It's clicking. If you click, left click, hold, and drag, you can select multiple units at once, and then of course you can just left click again, or you can right click and move to, and then we'll just move to where you want to go. This is true for all units, air-based or land-based, or sea-based, for example. If you really want to do some more interesting things, such as entrench them, repair them, or reserve them, again, all it is just a simple right-click, repair, reserve, entrench. If you want to entrench them, just click the entrench, and boom. Simple, simple controls. Everything is just clicking. There's nothing to say here but that. But at the same time, there's really nothing good or bad you can really say about it. I can't really be biased either way, because there's no way to be biased about a game that literally just you click. You can't really give it much of a review, I guess, because it is just clicking. But if they had done some crazy kooky controls like WASD or Q or P or the arrow keys to move selected units, I think that would have been kind of awful. So I'm going to give the controls for 2020 a definite big plus, because they're not convoluted pieces of shit. The next thing is really doesn't affect this game at all. History. Now, history for 2020, of course, it has no history, so there's not really much point in discussing it. So we're going to move directly on to the next thing, which is the AI. This is the thing I have the biggest gripe about. The AI has really 3 major flaws. The first one I will demonstrate, because I can't really show you because I'm a superpower nation. It really doesn't apply to me all that much. Plus, I don't want to war my closest ally, Russia, because that would end up in a massive shooting war that I would probably never win. I'm going to set an example, though, on this small Russian town of Podstavy. Okay, whatever. Podstavy. Let's say I was attacking Podstavy. Let's move those out. Good job. Let's say I had a bunch of tanks here, and they were trying to invade Podstavy, and I just left them on their setting there where they just invade stuff automatically because, well, that's what I do, because I'm a busy man and I have to scroll out and build certain things, so I can't be looking at wars all the time. They could do something dumb. Instead of invading the town as you expect them to actually do, because that's their job, because they're tanks, they'll do what my mouse is about to do. Move back and forth. And I've seen these do this in humongous quantities before, like hundreds of units just doing that, back and forth, and back and forth. And it's not limited to small towns. It'll happen on industrial complexes like this one here. It'll happen on large cities, like, for example, maybe Moscow. It'll happen on military productions. Anything at all. If it's just too lazy to do it. And I hate it. It sucks. It is the worst thing ever. Because you can't really get anywhere. And the same thing happens when your enemies do it as well. I don't really feel like I'm being challenged if all of their units are easily killable by Air Force because they're literally just going back and forth outside of a small town I don't care about. Sorry to people from Utenia. I don't care about you, apparently. The next big complaint I have is, again, something I can't really show all too well, but I can at the same time. As you can see here, Norway and Russia are at war. Now, Norway is kind of invading where it should. There's a tank down there. Supply is obviously going to go through the road because they're allies with Sweden, and Sweden is going to supply them, and as well, of course, they can just invade through Sweden. Sweden, since they're their ally, are going to give them a little bit more of a supply boost along the roadway. However, where are most of their units? Here, in this concentrated area, and moving into this area with no supply. Units will do this constantly, and I see it a lot with nations such as Russia versus China, or anybody versus Russia at all. They will just go into the limelight, into the middle of nowhere, for no reason at all. And it sucks. Because you literally are like, okay, let's do this war, man, I'm ready for this, I could get my ass kicked, but man, I gotta do this, and then they just do that, and you could just easily kill them with randomly small infantry you supply by aircraft, or by aircraft. Just destroy them with your fairly large air force. Really, really easy to do. That's something I really don't like, is how they just go for that instead of going for some important marks. What I think should have happened is they should have been recoded to instead go after stuff like aircraft fabrications, land fabrications, capital cities, large important cities with stuff around them, such as, again, military fabrications, or vital supply points, such as when I had, what was the nation? I forget who I was playing as. The Greece Empire. When I had the Greece Empire? The Greek Empire. When I had all of my oil in former Romanian land, that was extremely important to me, and people kept on trying to take it over, which is good. That is the first time I've ever seen that happen. They don't ever, they should just go after this kind of stuff anyway, because it would cripple me. If I had lost all of that before I took over Saudi Arabia, but I digress. They would have crippled me, because I would have had no fuel to fight them off, and they would have easily just taken me over. I wish they would do that more often, but they just don't seem to. The last gripe is a little bit of a smaller one, because I can kind of understand how this happened. But you can see here with Sweden's troops, they're trying to go repair. I don't know who the hell they went to war with, but they're trying to go repair at any rate. And they can't, because they're going to the closest barracks, which is here. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that name. But they can't, because they're stupid. Instead of going all the way up and around, as they should, and quite possibly repairing somewhere else, maybe there, no, not there, they just try to go on a straight line across the water. Now, I'm no expert here, but I don't think that these tanks can go across water, even in real life, without a boat. So either one, have a boat, or two, have smarter AI to go around. And I understand if they're at war with Russia, they're at war with Russia, and that sucks. But they still shouldn't be spamming around in my land, trying to get back to Sweden. Sweden, I know it's pronounced Sweden, I said Sweden, deal with it. They do this quite often as well. I've had it plenty of times, where units have just tried to go things. For a good example, let's scroll into here. With the Greek Empire, if you guys remember, I was taking over Libya, and they kept trying to repair in Athens, over here, and instead of going around, they went like this, and they spammed out around here, and Benghazi, and whatever this town is. Al-Beta? That's very close to Al-Qaeda. I'm concerned. So yeah, the AI could use a little bit more intelligence, as far as I'm concerned. And of course, I know you're all like, oh, but the new Supreme Rulers does. I haven't gotten there yet. This is the first review, remember. So yeah, AI could have used a bit of tweaking. Some mods do tweak it a little bit, but there's not too much in the way of that. It's mostly map mods, so quite an unfortunate thing. Next, we move on to diplomacy. Diplomacy is really easy. Let's diplomatic Russia. Yay, Russia. And Martev Churkin, who's not Vladimir Putin, thankfully. So, the diplomatic exchange system in Supreme Ruler 2020 is simplistic, but good. Many people say, oh, it's too simplistic. There's not enough to it. There's this, that, and the other thing wrong with it. I disagree. I think it's damn well perfect. I think the entire Supreme Ruler series has got the whole diplomacy thing bang the frig on. If you don't know anything about diplomacy, or you don't know anything about grand strategy games or anything like that, you're not going to have all that much trouble besides trying to figure out how to do it in the first place. It's very easy to figure out. Extremely easy. There's no other words to really use. It's just really easy. And I like it because it is a strategy game, yes, and you do need to buy certain things like missile designs and unit designs and technologies, and you're going to need stuff like, oh, I'm running out of oil, so I should probably buy some from Russia because they have all kinds of oil. Or I'm running out of money, I should sell Russia agriculture in exchange for cash because they're kind of low on that and I need some money, so let's trade around because we're buddies. It's just so fucking easy, and I love it. It's the way it has to go, and it needs to be simple because Supreme Ruler in itself is a war game. It is a war tactics. It's not this complicated crap that I find stuff like Victoria 2, as good as Victoria 2 is. I find its diplomatic exchange system a little bit lackluster because it's overly complicated when things could be a hell of a lot more simpler, as Supreme Ruler very clearly demonstrates here. And I'm just glad that this is a thing, because it's so good. I have no complaints about the diplomatic system. I think it's perfect. I think the whole bar system here for how much they like you and how much they dislike you is pretty damn good. It gets the point across to, you know, if somebody is going to do diplomacy with you, or if they're going to give you a good deal, or if they're going to give you a bad deal, or what. It's just easy. And I love it that way. Alright, let's close that. And the last thing, my overall impression. Supreme Ruler 2020 is a damn good game, and I'm glad that this was my introduction to the series and not 2010, because if it was 2010, to be quite honest, I probably would have just put it down and left. 2020 is difficult to get a grasp on. If you are new into the series, I highly recommend trying something easier first, such as maybe Civilization, or even Age of Empires, for Christ's sakes. Something a little bit more easy, and then kind of dive into something like this. And I'd really highly recommend not doing the tutorial and just trying it out on your own. Again, once you figure stuff out, you figure it out. It's like riding a bike. You'll never forget it. It's really easy once you figure it all out. And it can be a very fun and, quite honestly, time-draining experience. I have spent hours and hours. I've spent whole days playing as a small nation, trying to get them to be a superpower. This scenario, as you can see, is 2027, which is a good at least 6 hours or so of playtime, I want to say, maybe even more. So it's one of those games that you're going to sink your teeth into and you're never going to let go. And you're going to want more and more of it. You're going to want to go back and get some more, because it's delicious. And I love it. It's such a good game. If you don't have it, I hope this review maybe helped you a little bit, despite me being completely and utterly insane and blabbering a lot. But it's really cheap. It's $10 on Steam. Or if you're really lucky, you can do what I did, and I found it at the dollar store for $1. That is how I got introduced to this game. My friend and I actually bought it as a joke. I'll tell you that in a vlog sometime, about how I got introduced to this game completely, and how I got addicted to it, and how I started making YouTube videos on it. It's really, really good. I highly recommend it to anybody at all that's kind of on the fence about it, and wants to start this series off from the beginning. Well, the beginning on Steam, anyway. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.